Good morning, everybody. We call the meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. Panel members today, to my far left, Marcel Laurando. To my left, Gisela Rempel, and I'm Robert Buss. The assessor is Roddy Pontanilla, and our recording secretary is Kara Bulshaw. We will be hearing applications for the revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussions to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that would be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they so wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are recorded and will be a part of the public record.
Will you swear in?
Excellent.
Please state your name.
Roddy Pontanilla.
Do you swear the evidence to present today is the truth and the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name. Do you affirm the evidence to present today is the truth and the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, once again, welcome everybody. We will start with item number 8 on the docket this morning, 1858 Portage Avenue.
Okay, so the subject property in question is 1858 Portage Avenue. The file number is 19-5835. The business ID number for the property is 7171. And if we look at our subject, we have one premise associated with this business for 3,640 square feet. We have a base annual rental value of $50,196 a year, which has been valued at $13.79 a square foot. We've applied the occupancy costs to the building, which gives us a total annual rental value of $59,100, and we are looking to confirm that value.
Thank you.
I don't have any presentation. I was kind of just curious about these rents. I won't take long. Just a couple questions. Yeah. Bill Stiegel, is that Robertson Lighting?
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
What's going on? So that it is the same bid, but two different areas. Is that they added space kind of thing, or is that?
It could be. You know what? This
was
this. I did pull this from the model.
Okay.
It was model driven, so there could have been a discrepancy to look at there. That's a good.
Yeah, no, it's just
catch on that
a little
one.
unusual. But it makes, I guess, maybe it's just two leases.
It could be a second floor,
Yeah.
but they both do say 101. So yeah, we'd have to look into that.
3140, is that the sushi place?
I believe it is.
Okay, and 1819, that's that travel place.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. No, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if the panel has any questions. Mr. Laurando?
Nope. No questions. Thank you.
Are the occupancy costs the same for all
There.
buildings?
Yep. So for the one premise, we have the same square footage applied for all the usual rates that are applied for the occupancy cost.
Okay, and the reported rents are equal to the base rent here of $13.79, the reported rents.
On which, sir?
The reported rents that you have do not include occupancy costs, is that correct?
Well, so at the start we have the base rent that we have calculated on the area, and then once we include the occupancy cost, it increases the cost to the annual rental value shown, which would be the occupancy cost plus the base annual rental value. So that's how that part was calculated.
Your rental comparables, when you say at the last column there, reported rent,
Yep.
that is without occupancy
This is
costs.
without occupancy, no. So this would be the reported rent from the income and expense mailers, the information that we get, the market data.
That's all my questions, thank you. And Mr. Newcomb?
I don't have any presentation really. We accepted a cap rate adjustment, so I'm just here to, I guess, confirm it. This was appealed before that happened, so.
Okay. Anything in summation?
No.
And nothing in summation. Okay, that concludes item number 8. Thank you for coming. And we will go up to the top and start with item number 133 Hargrave Street.
You gotta bring cameras to that.
Oh yeah, they're outside right now. Am I done, I guess? I'm done because everything else has been adjourned or 15-1, so you have all that stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Ronnie.
Yeah, see you later. Thanks. See you around. Thanks. Nice to meet you. Yeah, you too. Maybe they probably got more to talk about, so they went out there to talk.
Just trying to cut a deal.
Yep. You just have the one. Mr. Chair, can we just have a 3-minute recess?
Yes, we'll take a short recess. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. And have everybody sworn in.
You will affirm?
Yeah.
Please state your name.
Come on.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name.
Song Bin Ming.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. That's it.
No, I don't think
Thank
so.
you. Welcome. Welcome, Mr. Wong.
You can have a seat, Mr. Lynn.
Yeah. That's good. You can sit down.
Okay, we will begin with 33 Hargrave Street. When you're ready, Mr. Wong.
The file number is 19-5390. The business ID is 20710. It's Hargrave Food Deli. The total annual rental value is $28,440, and there's 2,000 square feet of premise area. The overall rate is $14.22, which the base rate is $11.78. The subject property has a base rate of $15.90, and there are comparables that support the base rate of $11.78 at the bottom of my brief. So we're asking that the rental value be confirmed.
Thank you. Do you have any questions on the information that the assessor has presented?
I don't know the exactly what's, but I see the store is I run the business is about 20 years, and then its ownership was changed in maybe 2 times ownership is changed. But in the second time, owner have renovation the full building, and then
I'll stop you. Right now, we're going to do questions. If you have a question on this
it's
information,
okay. Yeah.
and if you will have a chance to explain afterwards.
Okay, it's all right.
Okay, we'll see if the panel members have any questions. Gisela? Is there
Yes, I'm wondering about the lease term, because it says the lease started July 1st, 2010, and
Yeah.
that the term was 4 years and 11 months.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is there a current lease?
I'm not sure what the current lease is, but the rent roll from their 2017 mailer is identical to what has been presented in my brief in terms of the base rate.
So the base rate has not changed since the expiry of this old lease?
Actually, from the rent roll, it says the lease started in July 2005, and it doesn't have an end date to the lease.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Laurendale?
Cam, have you had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Lim about this?
I have not.
Mr. Cameron, he probably hasn't been paying any business tax, has he?
Well, I think
He's
there's
under the threshold.
there's certain levies that are still paid, but the business tax, I would say probably not.
Which levies would be paid?
Bizone?
Biz zone? But not, they don't pay biz zone if they're under the threshold.
I think they do.
They do?
Yeah. It's just the tax credit is just for the business tax portion of it, but the levies are still applied.
The levies for biz zone are still applied?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was good.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Would you like to tell us about your property and why you think it's not correct?
Yeah, I paid in the exactly 27.8250 for the rental fee. That's including hydro, gas, or whatever is there have no other things I pay. But that price is continued 20 years now. I paid 20 years in the debt. 27.8250, and then suddenly this business tax grow up in the over $2,000 something. It's grow up there. So I tried to contact in the appeal this one. So just first time I try out this. I'm late already that year. So second year now is I have a chance to so I talked to my account Kennedy in the mail, and he just contacting on the board, and then now is I appealed. My rent is not price going up. I paid certainly over 2,000. Used to be I paid around $700 I paid in the business tax, and the last year it go up to over $2,000. So that is, I think, it's not fair, and they'll have a show afterward in the days average for security. I don't know the exactly. I don't have any lease paper because now I don't have any lease. In the building owner, I tried in the lease, and they don't wanna give the lease. So lease looks like a month to month.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And it hasn't changed. Well, we'll see if the assessor has any questions. Mr. Wong, do you have any questions?
He's calculating.
No. So you're saying your business tax bill went from $700 to $2,000?
Yeah, it's up in the, used to be I paid 700, around 700 something, and then just I think last year or people last year is it go up to over $2,000.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit strange, but unfortunately I don't have my information here with me to look at things. What are you paying for rent right now?
I paid $27.8250, including tax, everything.
27.82
Per month?
Yeah, per month. I don't pay hydro, I don't pay the gas or water, it's everything included.
Okay.
That's actually higher.
Gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
You said it
Oh,
included
with
everything.
heat, electricity,
But Cam's at 28,440.
right, and this is 33,390.
Yeah. Now that would have made sense if that was the old number. That could have been the old number that you brought it down. Was the property, oh, sorry.
So you pay $27.82 per month. That includes everything?
Yeah, including everything.
Okay. At the
So-
moment, that's
About 20 years.
yeah.
I pay the same, because I don't have any lease now, because in the land road, they changed it used to be in the flat, in the entrance, but now it's on the step. They make a step, it's hard to people get in, something like that, and they never changed. So,
Okay. We'll see if Mr. Lorendo has a question.
You didn't bring your previous tax bill with you, did you?
no, I didn't bring that. It's, if it's, you can ask in the Canadian, the submits my account, and he have all recording or something.
Do you remember what the total annual rental value was, your ARV, on your tax bill? What was the total rental value that was showing on your tax bill
I
in your
don't
previous years?
know. I don't know.
It must have been higher if he's paying that kind
I'd
of
like
tax.
to look into it. But unfortunately, I can't right now.
Okay. Mr. Lorendo, any more questions?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm just a little bit at odds here with, he's saying it went up from $700 to $2,000 last year. He's not talking about what it's going to do this year, because we don't know yet, but
We don't know yet, but I think
with
there's
that type of ARV that you've got
there's a
now, it should
likelihood that
be,
it would be under the threshold.
it'll be under the threshold, so you shouldn't be paying any business tax with this
Yeah, like
number.
there, for the business tax, there's the actual business tax component, and there's also like a business zone levy component. If your business is, the rental value of your space is less than a certain threshold, that business tax you get a credit for the exact same amount. So in a sense, you're not paying this portion of it, but you still pay this levy portion of the business tax. So in this particular case, I would say, we don't know this for sure yet, but there's a good chance that the 28,000 rental value that we have here is going to be under the threshold, and you're going to get a credit for the business tax portion of it, but you'll still get a tax bill for the business zone levy. But that's why when you say $2,000, that seems like it's like a business tax. I'll probably look into it. But in terms of the current rental value for 2020 for the upcoming business tax year, you're probably going to fall under the small business category, and you'll get a small business tax credit so that it offsets the business tax that you're going to be charged.
No, I don't understand the
Sorry.
issue, right?
Okay.
So,
Anyway,
I think
we'll-
Ken can give you a call and straighten it out after. You're going to look into it, Ken?
Yeah,
I was going to check into the $2,000. Yeah.
okay.
Can I get your phone number?
Get it off,
can you-
get it off
Yeah,
camera.
we just-
I
yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
yeah. We'll just,
We'll finish with the questions.
Yeah.
Gisela? any
yes, I'm just wondering what you think would be fair in terms of your total rental value, and what you think would be fair with regards to your property.
I don't know exactly how to is that average or square feet for that price. I don't know how to, but in my case, I have a store. I run the store 20 years, the same store and the same amount I paid. And then first time is that time is business taxes. I don't remember how much I paid. But recently I paid around 700 or something. I paid, and then one day just the price is changed is over $2,000 in the business tax. So that part is I don't understand. How come is business taxes go up?
Ken will look into it and he'll get back to you.
3 times is higher than.
Yeah.
it
The
used to be.
assessor will look into it and he will get back to you. Do you have any other questions?
No, that's it for me.
I have no questions.
Okay.
If you leave it with us, and Ken will look into it, and we'll try and find some answers for you.
Sure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Use the phone numbers because I have the English. So I give you his phone number.
Oh,
Okay.
Will you swear in? Please state your name.
Ryan Oliver.
Do you swear the evidence you present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
204. Is that right?
Yeah, that is my accountant. He told me. So if you talk directly, I have some.
Yeah, if I need to get a hold of you, I'll ask him.
Oh,
I'll ask him. for
I'll
your
come
phone
up
number.
with you. You just have to, right?
Yes.
I'll
Okay.
come up with
Yeah,
you
great, thank you.
for each one.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, we will go to item number 2, 83 Gary Street, Unit 401. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, the file number is 19-5269. The business ID is 20283. It's the Assiniboine Athletic Club in Fort Garry Place. The annual rental value is $70,080. The premise area is 9,162 square feet. And the overall ARV rate is $7.65, and the base rate works out to $5.20. On the bottom of my brief are some comparables for gyms in the city. The first one being at 201 Portage Avenue. So it's in the big building. It's similar to Fort Garry Place, and they're at $19. They're at $19 a square foot. There's a couple of gyms on Narren and Osborne, one being a lot larger and one being smaller, and they're both first one being at $10 and the second one being at $21. So the rate, the $5.20 that we applied is at the very, very bottom end of the range. It typically might range from about $6 a square foot to about $25 a square foot. And we applied a rate of $5.20 a square foot to recognize the uniqueness of Fort Garry, that is Fort Garry Place. And so we believe it's fair. And also the current rental value of $70,000 is in line with previous years, which was at $62,000 in 2018 and $88,000 in 2016. So we're we're asking for a confirmation of the rental value at $70,080.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of the assessor?
I do, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, 201 Portage, your first comp there. Would you agree that it's in a more advantageous location than the subject?
I would say likely.
Likely, okay. 1150 Nairn and 206 Osborne, are those... So 150 Nairn, that's part of a multi-tenant property. See that, is that just a one-story building that it's part of?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. 206 Osborne, that looks like, that's a main floor rent also, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So just going back to 201 Portage, actually, I'll ask that. Okay, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Rempel, any questions?
Yes, I'm just wondering if I take a look at the back of the information you have just gone over. It says Assiniboine Athletic Club,
Yes.
but it says no rent charged.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think it's some sort of agreement that they might have with the property owners, and so that's why it's reasonable to kind of try to go to the market to get a rate.
Thank you.
Mr. Lorendo, any questions?
Well, when you're going to the market to get a rate, what if they're being paid a fee to have it there?
If they're being paid a fee.
Because it's being used as a lost leader to have, because they're using it for their tenants to use the gym.
Yeah. It is open to the public.
Is there a fee that's being paid by the public to go to this gym?
Yeah.
And who's taking that money in? Is it this company or is it?
I believe it's Assiniboine Athletic, yes. Because like looking on their website, they have memberships available to the public.
And yet they don't show a rent.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like it's difficult. I don't know what type of agreement they might have with the property owner.
And how does it show up in the property owner's bill as far as being revenue? Because it would show up as revenue towards his taxation, wouldn't it? Or are you showing it as zero?
It's difficult for me to say. But it appears that they're not paying anything to the property owner.
Right.
Yeah.
So the property owner's value is not going up because of it.
It's difficult to say. I mean, I don't know what type of financials that Assiniboine Athletic Club has, but you know, we're just trying to do our best job to value it as reasonably as possible. And to sort of have a rental value of zero is probably not reasonable.
I'm just trying to, are they looking at this space as common area? Is that what the building owner is doing?
I don't believe so. I don't think anybody can just walk in there.
Okay, I've got no further questions.
Thank you. What about 206 Osborne? What do you know about that building?
It's a
Is that in the Fort Rouge Leisure Center?
it's in the heart of the Osborne area, the village area. It's in the heart, and it's I believe that it is a 24-hour gym.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Single floor, but I guess what might be the most similar would be 201 Portage, which is on the 7th level of the building.
Okay, thanks. That's all my questions. You'd like to take us through your information?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the subject premise, look at 401-83 Gary Street, roll number 20283, file number 19-5269. Page 2 of my brief, summary of my report. We are asking this board to reduce the 2020 annual rental value from $70,080 to $49,920. Going to page 3 of my brief, the subject premise, it's a 9,162 square foot fitness facility located at Unit 401 on the 4th floor at 83 Gary Street, which is the northern tower of 55 Gary Street. 55 Gary Street would be the realty that it falls under. It's located on the north side of Cinnabon Avenue and it's rented on 4th and Gary Street behind the Fort Gary Hotel. I've included a further map on page 4. And just going to page 6 of my brief. So for the realty assessment of 55 Gary Street, you could see on page 10 of my brief, highlighted that the board did agree to apply the net operating income that we had used for 55 Gary Street. On page 23 here, you can see the rent that we had applied was $3 per square foot, which the board agreed to. So I simply ask that the business assessment follow the realty assessment and that the board apply the $3 per square foot. And I have my evaluation on just page 7 of my brief if you just wanted to see the breakdown there. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Ward, if you have any questions?
No questions.
Is there no questions?
Okay, maybe I missed something and we're not really supposed to be considering this anyway, but on page 10, this board of revision order is for 55 Gary Street?
55 Gary Street, but 83 Gary falls under 55. So everything, all buildings are just all are part of 55 Gary Street, or all components. I shouldn't say buildings. So that is part of it, and typically what happens is the business would follow the realty in that sense.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Lorndo, questions?
Where does it show the $3 in the order?
So, not in the order. We were told to attach our full brief when it comes to decisions such as this. But, so it's based on our net operating income. And then on page 23, you can see they're highlighted in yellow. The rate that we had applied was $3 per square foot.
On page 23? Yeah. I guess I have a question for you, Ken. Was that, has that been appealed, this tax? This board revision order has been appealed?
To the municipal board?
That's what I'm asking.
I'm not sure.
Because don't we usually follow the board orders if they're not appealed?
I think typically we can follow them, but I just I feel that the $3 is not reasonable, seeing as it falls well outside the range of what the crappiest storage warehouse rate might be, and so I think to value it at $3 would be that'd be well outside the range.
It shouldn't you challenge the board order?
I mean, if that was the case, I mean, we could everybody would appeal everything to, because we're not going to agree on everything, and so I'm not sure if that would be the best way to look at it, but I'm not sure if we appealed it. I don't believe. I'm not sure if the assessment department or the applicant appealed it. I'm not sure.
I've got no further questions.
Thank you. On page 23,
Yeah.
it shows the Assiniboine Athletic Club at 12,012 square feet.
Yeah.
But for the business tax here, we're only using 9,162.
Yeah, so on my brief here, on page 7, in 2015, for the 2015 IE, they did a remeasure of the property. They removed the pool area, so that was 3,994 square feet. That's how we got to the 9,162 square feet. That may have just been a clerical error, but given the unique location of the subject premise, it's a gym facility in Fort Garry Place. In my opinion, it would mainly serve the residents as well as the hotel guests. When we look at the square footage, 9,162 square feet to 12,012 square feet, the economy of scale, that's not going to play too much of a factor in there. The $3 per square foot would be is what I consider appropriate for the subject.
Okay. So you're saying there was a pool that was included in that 12,000 square feet, and they took out a pool or something? Was that?
No, it's just not part of the leasable area anymore because now Edison actually they're related parties now. Actually, they're related parties, so that's why there's no rent charged for the subject premise. The pool area now serves the residents of Fort Garry Place. So they just removed that pool area, and now the leasable area is only 9,162 square feet.
Okay. So continuing on your yellow line there, there's the number 36,036. That is the market rent per annum?
So when you take that $3 per square foot on page 23, that's what it works out to.
Okay, so what is the 762, the next column?
That would be, so that's just carried over from one of our tabs. That would be, the reason why that is a negative value is that would be the expenses that a typical tenant would incur. I would have to go through the full calculations to let you know what those exactly are, but that's what it represents. We take away the utilities, property taxes, whatever's going by the tenant, to get down to the net rents.
Okay, and following up on Mr. Lorendale's question, there's nowhere that you've shown us a decision, but there's nowhere that it shows that they used, this board decision is using $3 a square foot for that space, is there?
There's nowhere, but I would assume since the board order does say that the decision is based on the net operating income presented by the applicant. I went through the calculations, applying the cap rates. I came up with almost exactly the same numbers that the board would have gotten to. In order to get to that net operating income, you would have to apply that rents that we applied, which as you can tell for this building, that's historically been struggling those values. I mean, we as office appealed this to the municipal board, but I doubt that we would go for a higher net operating income at the board, so it might be just on cap rate in that sense.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. This fitness club has been there, maybe not under the current ownership, since this facility was built, has it not?
It was not. Sorry.
This fitness club has been in this building since it was built, is that correct?
Yeah.
Not this particular owner, perhaps, but there has always been a fitness club there.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. And this fitness club is open to members of the public, is it not?
This fitness club is open to members of the public, yes.
Okay. And there are a lot of government offices right in the building and right down the street, and there's also large condos across the street from this building?
There are, yeah.
So has this space ever been empty or vacant?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. So it hasn't been a problem keeping a tenant in this particular space?
It hasn't been a problem.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything in summation? Mr. Wong? there anything you'd like to add? Not add, but something on?
Yeah, sometimes when you look at numbers, they don't always lead to an accurate value. And in this particular case, the rate that we've applied is just at the very, very bottom end of the range for gyms, and I believe that it's fair and reasonable. So I ask that you confirm the rental value.
Thank you. And don't have your name.
No, Ryan Oliveras, that's okay.
Okay, Ryan. Anything you would like to say in summation?
I would just like to reiterate that the business assessment should typically follow the realty assessment, so I ask the board to apply the rate that was decided for the realty decision.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Vaz, can I ask one more question?
Yes, go ahead.
Did you say, Ryan, that you have appealed it, probably because they didn't accept your cap rate and a few other things?
I would assume some it was more on the
That's why
cap
you-
rate end, yes.
Cap rate in the 5%?
Yeah, it was Mr. DuPont who worked the property for the realty.
Okay. So it's under appeal to the municipal board now?
It's under appeal to the municipal board, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes 83 Gary Street, item number 2. We'll move on to item number 3, 160 Smith Street, unit 200.
Okay. The file number is 19-5665. The business ID is 43053. The annual rental value is $31,620, and there's 1,615 square feet of rental space. After talking with Mr. Oliveros and looking at some of the comparables, I'd like to recommend that the annual rental value be revised to $29,760. That's based on that's at the bottom of my brief.
Very good. Mr. Oliveras, how do you feel about this new value?
Yeah, no, we accept the
Do you
recommendation.
accept the recommendation? Any questions from the panel?
None.
None.
I have no questions either. Very good. That will conclude item number 3. And item number 4, 295 York Avenue.
That's mine.
Okay. Okay.
Are you okay?
We'll take a short recess. Okay, we'll call the hearing back to order.
I'll swear you in first. Or will you affirm? Please state your name.
Sid Story.
Do you swear the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We will begin with item number 4, 295 York Avenue. Mr. Long, when you're ready.
Okay, the file number is 19-5751. The business ID is 50285. We're at 295 York. And this would be the steakhouse called Carne. We have a total annual rental value of $308,000. The total premise area is 11,911. We have a total rental value rate of $25.87, with the base rate being $23.42. On the bottom of my brief are some comparables, which show that this type of restaurant, like a higher end steakhouse, their rents are about $22.50 to about $25.67. That supports that our net rate of $23.42. So I ask that you affirm the annual rental value for this property.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Storer, do you have any
Yes,
questions?
interestingly, you indicated that steakhouses of this vintage or this ilk are 22 to 25 dollars a square foot. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
Give me an example of one. Give me a steakhouse that faces that kind of rent.
The properties that are on the list.
The properties that are on this list, 800 Pembina Highway, which was a round table, was complete regeneration to the brew pub, where they spent $800,000. Is that comparable to the subject? Do you know that that was a round table? Forever and ever? Are you familiar with that site?
Yes.
And Braden Hall was a complete rebuild, they tore it down and rebuilt it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a redevelopment site?
And
Do you
is
know who
Carne
owns-
a new restaurant?
No. There's been a restaurant on that premise as far as I was going back to the House of York.
Since before you were.
So that would be one. That would be one. 800 Pembina would be an example of how you would arrive at that. Has Carney been rebuilt?
Carne is a new restaurant. It is the total building itself was converted from a hotel to an apartment building, and in turn, the whole building was renovated.
And how many years ago?
I'm not sure. It was a few years ago.
Okay.
Not
115
20 or
Gary. You're
50
familiar
years
with
ago.
115 Gary?
Yes.
Okay. And you know that's a keg, correct?
Yes.
That's a keg on Gary Street, the original keg. Okay. And in 2009, they signed an 11-year renewal, and that has been around forever and ever, all men, at 1522. Where did your number come from?
They signed at that rate, but they do pay a percentage of their income as their part of their rent.
Do you have any information to support that?
This was from their income and expense mailer, and it works out to $25.
What are you suggesting? When you add percent rent, it comes up to $25?
Yes.
Okay. The base rent, have you seen the lease?
I have not seen the lease. I've
Okay.
seen the
And the base rent, though, is at 1522, is that correct?
the rent that they pay is that base rent plus additional rent.
If they achieve certain milestones, correct?
And in this particular case, they did.
In this particular year, they did hit the milestone. Okay, and that's one of the more successful steakhouses in Winnipeg, is it not? In terms of volume, it would be about third in Winnipeg.
I wouldn't know.
Okay. And what is 530 Kenniston? Your third comp.
It seems like it's a mid-tier restaurant.
It's which?
A mid-tier restaurant.
Mid-tier? And where's it located on? Where's 530? Is that in your grant?
I believe so.
And it's a 2-year lease. They signed a restaurant signed a 2-year lease at $22.50. Well, why did you sign a 2-year lease?
You might know. I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you see that particular lease?
No.
Did you attend to that? Have you inspected that particular property?
No, but I've eaten there once.
Okay. Which, when you say mid-tier, is it, where is it on Keniston? Where might it be on Keniston, might I ask? Where is it
You said
located?
Keniston and Grant.
Right at Keniston Grant.
Original Joe's?
Yes.
Well, they would have a Grant address, wouldn't they? Okay, is that Original Joe's?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see their lease?
No.
Okay. And you're aware that on, it's a national chain?
I'm not sure.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And that is part of the full agreement. And now, okay. So those would have to be reviewed to see the comparability. Have you seen the lease at York?
Yes, it works out to approximately $4 a square foot.
They're paying $4 a square foot. Right.
Yeah, you can see on my brief.
Where can I see on your brief for $4 a square
The
foot?
subject lease information. In the middle.
Okay, yeah. And we all know 160 Smith is also 295 York, same building.
Yes, same building.
So the reported area is $4.03 a square foot, and you're using 23 and change. Overall ARV of 25, and the base rent of 23.42. So the questionnaire is telling you they're paying $4 a square foot, but the model tells the world that they should be paying 23.42. Is that what you're suggesting?
That's what the model is.
Okay. Okay. And there is another area. There's another. You and I made an agreement in the other room that you will visit and find out what's going on. But a portion of the restaurant is not in use. Is that correct? There's a portion we think that is not utilized.
I would need to inspect it to verify.
And you've agreed to do that.
I'm going to go and inspect it, yes.
And are you aware that there's been a number of different restaurants in there over the last 10 years or so?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd also like to say when I spoke with the owner of the restaurant at that time, several years ago, we had a rate of $20.88 net, and he said that was a very fair rate. So even
But that wasn't the owner who's there now. That wasn't Doug Stevens. That was the people from Terrace when they moved from City Park, right?
As a matter of fact, it was Doug Stevens.
It was Doug Stevens. Doug Stevens said $20 was a fair rate, and he paid $4? Wow. Okay. I won't beat a dead horse. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if the panel has any questions. Mr. Lorendorf?
No, I'm good. I'm going to hear what the story is on this one.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good as well. Mr. Story, if you'd like to present. Your
Yes,
evidence.
thank you. Yeah, it's coming. Not very much, but it's something. Thank you. Oh, I need to come in 2 other pages. And then I have this, there's my comps, pass out. Oh, a couple more, 3, 5? 4, 5. Thanks. And just 1 second, I just have a series of red pumps. Oh, I'll just fix it. Thank you. I'll just ask you to go to page 2 right after that. And this is a restaurant leased by Wow Hospitality. It has been a series of restaurants since the House of York was converted to the Sheraton, and then the Sheraton was converted back to an apartment block. The assessor has indicated to you that the actual amount we're paying is $4 a square foot. The leases on these properties that have been turned over a number of times get very, very creative. Oftentimes, they're based on hitting a certain threshold that they're hit a certain base. I assume you've seen the rent. But what we're here today is to find out what the market rent would be on a non-chain, and that's very important, a non-chain restaurant. It's not part of a franchise that can give a good covenant, and then as a result, get certain landlord inducements that are paid back over the rent. None of that is there. This is just a pure and simple market rent for a restaurant. It doesn't really have parking. You can validate your parking if you park inside at the apartment complex. You have to park on the top floor, which most people don't care for. So the restaurant itself validates the parking, and they in fact are paying the tenants, the owners, parking use in there. I'm suggesting $15 a square foot. Just looked very quick, and by coincidence, I hadn't seen the assessor's brief or know anything about his comps, but I gave you 4, and he's used 2 of them in his. And the 2 are the two big regenerations. If you go to cancel those numbers on the comp, they only mean 1,500 Pembina Highway is Tony Roman's. It's been there for an awfully long time. It's very successful. The lease rate there is $15.38. So just to give you an idea what people pay, that is an affiliated. They've got a master franchisee, the Simpson family, but that is a national chain. But it's not. They don't generally provide corporate covenants. They just do site covenant. Yee's Buffet is, they took the Mark's Work Warehouse right across from Polo Park on St. James Street, and they converted it to Yee's Buffet, and it's extraordinary. If anybody's been there, that's a huge redevelopment of a property. It was a retail store into a buffet-style restaurant. It's got a little bit of a lounge at the front. It's brand new. They're $214. And that lease is at $25, and so it should be, because somebody spent a lot of money to redevelop that. So I don't believe that's comparable. The other one is a keg at 115 Gary, and the assessor just acknowledged that yes, that's what they paid, but they also, if they hit certain thresholds, they pay more. I think base rent is what should be considered. That's at $15.22. And 800 Pembina should not be considered. That's, first of all, it may not be an arm's length transaction. Sean Christensen owned it for many years. It's been redeveloped. The son is running the new facility. They reported in the Free Press that the renovation, rejuvenation was several $1 million, including the building and the interior of the restaurant. And they reported the equipment for the brewery and whatnot in the restaurant itself is over $600,000. So it's a huge restoration. So I think that I would look more closely at Tony Roman, the keg, and they're in the $15 range. And I'm going to suggest that we use a market rent of $15 a square foot. Mr. Wong has agreed that he will go and find out if there should be an additional adjustment with respect to the square footage. The former owner had a couple of breakout rooms, they call them meeting rooms, in the building, which would really be on the Smith side of the building, the east side of the building, and those aren't being used. They're still, I believe they're in the 11,000. Mr. Wong believes they're in the 11,000, but we'll both believe they're not being utilized by the restaurant. So I would respectfully submit that the base rent be $206,656. And I've got more comps, but I won't bother with you.
Thank you. We'll see if Assessor has questions. No questions? Panel members? Mr. Laurenville?
How much is the adjustment on the square footage?
We're not sure. I think it's a couple thousand square feet that they're not using, but I'm not sure. We're going to, Mr. Wong and I are going to attend.
Makes a big difference.
Yes, it does.
Wouldn't somebody have measured that up prior to the meeting?
Well, it wasn't. What happened is he took over another restaurant. There was an existing restaurant, and he only uses the portion, just like he's got it in abeyance. If he wants to expand, I guess he can.
It's still under his control then?
But he's not paying he's paying $4 a square foot, Mr. Linda, so he can justify paying for some extra square footage. He took it over in a distressed situation.
Okay, no further questions.
Yes, under the former owner, those were private dining rooms, were they not?
Private dining room?
Yeah. Where you could have a meeting as well as dinner?
Oh, yeah, you could. That was the back, that's the part that they're not using. If you go in, if you know the restaurant, you go in the front doors, and then you look into the main restaurant, there's a black curtain that's been there for the last 5 owners. And it's behind the black curtain on the east side. It actually had a bit of window space looking, I believe, onto Smith. And that was, yeah, they were breakout rooms, but they're just, they're not using those right now.
Okay, but we're going to check whether they're using them or not.
Well, they're not using them, but we don't know but they are, whether or not they're paying rent on it.
Okay.
But I'm suggesting because of the agreement, the low rent, that's probably is a big issue for the owner, for the tenant, because it's $4 a square.
Yeah, I think the agreement they have is maybe kind of like a Assiniboine where they might have some sort of a special arrangement with them, but it's not very representative of the market.
So these comparables that you have given us,
Yes.
Mr. Story, you've also listed the keg
Yes.
at 115 Gary as
Yeah,
a
because the
comparable?
keg is in the $15 range.
Right. And at that keg on Gary Street, there's no parking?
No.
So it would be street parking?
There is Avis has a parking lot behind them, shared by the credit union, that you can pay to park.
Right.
But the keg itself only has a few stalls at the back, on the back lane.
Okay. And in terms of the property that you're representing, isn't there also ground level parking at the back of that facility?
Yes.
As
Yeah.
well as
Between
the arcade parking?
Place Louis Riel and the building, there's surface parking.
Right.
I think it's paid as well.
Okay.
Paid for.
Or
The
street
restaurant
parking?
itself doesn't have any parking included in its rent, I don't believe. Mr. Wong can confirm it.
So
I don't believe it.
I don't.
And I know that they reimburse you because I park on the top, the check park on the top floor of the parkade,
Right.
it's 7 or 8, and it's, quite frankly, it's a bit scary at night parking.
And so when your client took over this property, there have been no renovations or changes made?
Signage. Last number of tenants in there have just been signage changes. There's been a few.
And in terms of your other comparable, this Tony Roma's,
Yes. That is parking.
that has parking?
Yeah, they share an entranceway with Tim Hortons. It's a very busy spot. It's on Pembina Highway,
Yeah.
just south of Jubilee, I guess.
And there have been no renovations made there?
Just refreshing, no.
Decades.
No. It's nice, clean, and still looks pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. So the only one of your comparables that are in the downtown area is the 115 Gary Street.
Correct, yeah.
And would you agree that if the keg did not want to pay percentage, the owners would ask for a higher rent?
They could. They may or may not get it, but they certainly could. We've just had an announcement in the paper this week of a downtown restaurant closing because of circumstances of amount of competition that's entered in the proximity of the competition to some of the features. So the Point Crowd downtown, after 20 years, closes its doors. So we're not quite there, and I'm a great advocate of downtown. We're not quite there with having cleaned up downtown enough to make it necessarily, you might be more inclined to be on Pembina Highway at Tony Roma's and to be downtown right now, unfortunately.
That's all my questions, thank you. Anything in summation?
Yeah, I guess the closest one in comparable would be the keg, and it's supportive of our base rate. So as you affirm the rental value, confirm the rental value.
Thank you. Mr. Story, anything in summation?
No, it's fine.
Then that concludes item number 4, 295 York. We will move on to item number 5, number 1 Portage Avenue East.
And we can just request confirmation for now, please, on the ballpark.
This is the ballpark.
Yes.
Okay, perhaps the assessor could
Sure.
introduce the property.
Sure. The file number is 19-5759. The business ID is 28577. And this is the Gold Eyes Ballpark. Our annual rent value is $641,160. I ask that you confirm the annual rental value at $641,160. Or actually, sorry, it actually should be,
You had 641,436 on the line.
yeah, it should be 641,436. My apologies.
641.
641,436
Where is it wrong?
on the top. It says 641,160.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, it should be 641,436.
Okay. And any questions from the panel?
You already answered it.
No question.
Questions? I have no questions. And you're asking that we confirm it, so.
Yeah, just confirm.
Very good. Thank you. That takes us to item number 6, 2015 Main Street.
The file number is 19-5750. The business ID is 50297. And it's a Food Evolution Restaurant in Kildonan Park.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
It's a Food Evolution Restaurant in Kildonan Park.
Okay.
Our annual rent value is $37,200. The premise area is 2,977 square feet. We have an overall rate of $12.50 based off of a base rate of $10.04. The bottom are some comparables that support the base rate of $10 that we have, and I ask that you confirm the annual rental value at $37,200.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Story, do you have any questions?
Yes. This is the concession, basically, at the duck pond at Kildonan Park, correct?
Yes,
That's an atypical location for a restaurant.
correct.
And you don't use it has its own assessment roll, its own assessment, which is $257,000. You don't use the city isn't using on restaurants, the idea of following the
No.
realty assessment, 10% of the
No,
realty
we don't do that
assessment.
for any restaurants as in the previous property like the cake.
Mhm. But we did talk, you and the previous agent talked about following the realty on a gymnasium. You just talked about it for their place.
Well, the thing is, they had made a case for the rental value for the commercial, so if they made a case for that rental value, then they want to apply the same rate for the business assessment.
Okay, so the
So
city.
this is not the same situation.
But the only difference is that they're not using, here, you're not suggesting taking 10% is $25,000, works out to 10% return to the landlord, makes kind of sense. to
No,
do
it's
that.
based off of a $10.04 base rate.
Okay. Okay. Have you seen the lease?
I have not.
Have you seen any details as to what, if anything, they're paying in rent?
No.
Okay. You don't know if there's a seasonal aspect, do they pay rent in the winter as well as in the summer?
No, it just appears to be same wild hospitality, and it seems to be a nice restaurant, I would say.
Yes. And it's had its troubles, it's had a variety of different operators over the last few years.
I'm not sure.
Okay. And it was closed for a month and because the trees fell down in the park, we couldn't get to it after the last windstorm. That's just why it's atypical. Okay, I can't, I haven't got much to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Reynolds, any questions?
Yes, I'm just wondering, is this both the restaurant and the concession that we're talking about here? Because there's a concession stand, is there not?
Yes, there's a take-out window.
On the main floor and a restaurant on the second floor?
I actually do not know. I don't know if the concession stand is in operation with the restaurant, but yeah, but this is the premise area that we have for the restaurant.
So this is Prairie's Edge Restaurant that we're talking about here?
Not anymore. Food Evolution.
Yeah.
They change quite frequently.
So they just changed?
Yeah.
Just change the name.
Oh,
And we've got some new people, new chefs.
okay.
Same owner.
Same one.
Same tenants.
I mean, like
The owner's the city of Winnipeg, and we can't find the lease.
Same tenant, same owner of the tenant, like Wow Hospitality.
Yeah, it's Well Hospitality, who seem to be there whenever there's a restaurant that isn't making it. They're also on the bridge, not paying rent, paying percentage, but, and the seasonal aspect, there's no rent attributed to 3 months. So he's kind of, Doug is taking on the tougher nuts in town.
So when did this lease start? I'm sorry, I'm confused. For Food Evolution? When did they take over this space at 2015?
I'm actually not aware of the lease details.
Okay.
Mr. Lorendo?
So where do you get the 1004 from then, if you're not aware of the lease details?
It's a market model rate.
It's a model rate.
Yeah.
So it's possible that it's less, but we haven't investigated the lease.
Yeah, I mean, I looked for one and I couldn't find it.
On the previous property, you used the 10%. There's restaurants in there.
Those were not included.
Well, they're not included in this? This
No,
is just the
no, I'm
ballpark?
talking about the ballpark.
The
You're talking about-
ballpark, that's just the ballpark then, that's
Yeah.
not the restaurant.
Yes,
The restaurants there are in a separate lease.
yeah, they're,
It's sublet.
They're sublet. So this is just the ballpark.
yeah,
On this one, you're saying 1250 overall,
yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
Somebody's seen the lease because you've got that one area, premise 1, at 0. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm guessing that might be the concession.
So somebody's seen the lease. Who's seen the lease?
That's not based off of the lease.
What's it based off of?
It's based off, it's a model rate.
But you suspect it might be? Did you not do these numbers up, or
These are model rates.
that you put together?
Yes.
So what did they use for modeling that?
They used rates for restaurants in the area. Like, you know how we get income and expense information from property owners, whether it's apartments or office or retail. It's the same sort of thing where we take that income and expense information and we try to estimate what a market rent would be, and that's how we estimate the rental values.
Signage, you don't really have any signage on Main Street, do you?
I'm not sure.
Most restaurants that we've had signage to say, hey, there's a restaurant here. Are you aware of any signage on Main Street that says there's a restaurant in there?
I am not aware.
Leela Henderson. So you don't know what kind of lease, how many years it is, or anything else?
No.
Could be day to day, could be month to month.
Yeah, or it could be a special arrangement, as with.
The city would do that, would they? Make a special arrangement?
I'm not sure. All I know is that we have to try to look at, what's representative of market.
Okay, let's see what it's got.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is this restaurant open year-round?
I'm not sure.
Unless there's trees that are broken in the park.
That's my only question. Mr. Story, you can tell us about the property from your
I'll
side?
do my best.
Yep.
I've been kicking around this assessment business for about 31 years, and I know how difficult it is to get lease information. It's very confidential. But this is a city assessor dealing with a lease with the city of Winnipeg. Surely they can get access to what people pay. Not taking a shot at you, Mr. Wong, it's just that it seems odd that you wouldn't have more information on their lease. Just go to page 2. Again, what we've done is we had, and we're going to cheat and put as much weight or as little weight as you like, but on page 4, you'll see there was a small reduction, so there was an assessment of $257. We have seen occasion, particularly on hotels, we've got a whole raft of them coming up next week, and they're all at 10% of the assessment plus op costs. I don't know how you value this thing. You can't own it. It's in a park. It's in a city park. Mr. Lorndo is correct. There is no signage. It is atypical. And you're going to see, I think, in the next few years, something develop that these things are not real leases. They're concession stands. And that's what they are. And they turn over every year. And the people come in and take whatever equipment's there, and they negotiate with the landlord. This was a complete turnkey. He walked in, and the tables, chairs, cutlery, everything was there. So how do you attribute that? Did the city take that into consideration in establishing a market rent? I suggest they didn't. They can't, because they didn't know about it and didn't look at the lease. So all I've done is, and the reason we've done this, to be totally honest with you, is to get to 32,000 so they'll be exempt. That's really the object of the exercise. So page 2, we've taken the 25,000, it was 257, 10% of it was worked out to $850 a square foot. I don't believe they're paying $850 a square foot. I believe they're just on straight percentage. And they may or not have seasonal adjustments, i.e. no rent through certain months of the year. It's just the way it is. The concession aspect is they had at the main level at the east end of the restaurant, they had a takeout window for the kids to get hot chocolate when they were skating. And then the restaurant developed over time, and it's actually 2 levels. It's actually a very, very nice restaurant. But it's a challenge because of where it's located. It's also the north end of the city, which historically hasn't had a lot of higher end restaurants. The new fellows that are in there now are trying to make it more high end. But so we're suggesting that this is better evidence than the assessor is suggesting. So it would be 2,977 square feet at $850, some operating costs, and total ARV of $32,598. And we'll wait anxiously for the decision this year as to what the new threshold is, but I suspect it will be about that. And that's about all I can give you. I can tell you lots of stuff about it. It's a very nice place. I also, interestingly enough, to talk about the volatility of restaurants, non-chain restaurants. I have another set of comparables for this particular property. It includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And of those 8, 5 of them have closed. These were in my briefs last year. So we have 1747 Alice, which is a big restaurant, 10,000 square feet, $10.64 a square foot. It was a keg for 25 years and was who's Asian
Perhaps you
Lease
should,
Term.
have you got?
Share.
I'll pass it, just to show you they're all closed. It's just the difficulty of restaurants and getting. So Danny's Barbecue was the last one. Now it's Hakeem Optical. They gave up on it. The Pony Corral just announced last week after 20 years they didn't renew their lease at 444 St. Mary's Avenue. Spaghetti Finn McHugh's pulled out of the Forks from the second level. They pulled out some time ago. They're paying $11 a square foot. 360 Main was Chamberlain's Restaurant, the only licensed premise in 360 Main, and it couldn't make it at $10 a square foot. And 8 Rendiers is Famous Days, which opened to great fanfare, and then the people who took on the franchise rights, the tribal council, chose not to continue with it, and the management took it over, so it's a failure, and Bellamy still exists. So it's a very difficult, it's not easy to get tenants for restaurants. It's very difficult to get $25 a square foot for a non-chain, non-national restaurant. Mr. Wong mentioned about steakhouses and the successful steakhouses in Winnipeg, of course, and Ray and Jerry's and our friends at 529. There aren't a lot of comparables. There's no model. 529 is a heritage building that has an actual rental value, market rental value about $12 a square foot. So it's just trying to put it in perspective, how you value this thing. It's a city lease. That's why it's on a separate roll. It's a $257,000 assessment. If somebody got 10% on their money, if you were an owner, you'd be tickled pink. That would be $850 in rent, so I suggest we use that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wong, any questions?
For all your comparables that are $10 or higher?
Yeah, these are, yeah.
That's all my questions.
Okay. Mr. Lorendo?
No questions.
Ms. Mental?
Having been in this restaurant, I would hardly describe it as a concession stand. I mean,
No, it
it's
was
a concession stand down.
When they had skating at the
Yes.
front.
Yeah,
They don't have that anymore. It's closed, there it's closed.
right.
Yeah.
So may I ask, you say that it is now, the business name is Food Evolution. When did the applicant actually begin ownership or
Tenancy?
lease this property?
I'm going to say 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah, just guessing.
And was it in fact closed? I thought the restaurant was always open even though the park was closed. Because I believe I was at the restaurant when the park
Yeah,
was
well,
closed.
I've been to the restaurant a lot. I like the restaurant.
Yeah, it's a very nice restaurant.
I think that when, oftentimes, and I'm thinking to Cinnamon Park, and I'm thinking to the restaurant on the bridge, the city will approach Doug if they have some issues, some odd lease requirements, because they do negotiate to get these properties full. But it's a restaurant, it's not a concession stand. It was when it was a duck pond. Initially, it was a skating rink, and it didn't have a restaurant initially. But it was always planned to be a restaurant. And then, but what's important too is in this type of thing, when you pay rent, typically you get a shell, you don't get dishes and whatnot. And these ones that have difficulty, they do. They go in, it's turnkey, they start operating almost. So I would say that Doug has had it for about 3 years.
And have any renovations occurred during
No,
that 3-year
no.
period?
It's signage, and that's it, only on the building.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all my questions.
So you're saying the city owns the tables and chairs and stuff in that?
Well, what happens is, generally speaking, a lease like this, they would have in that's included in the lease, and if you meet all your obligations under the lease, you own them at the end. So that's usually what happens.
These comparables that you gave us, say starting up from the bottom there, 8 Renders, Famous Days, is that still open?
Yes, it's still open. Management took it over.
Okay. The Spaghetti Factory at the Fork,
That's still there.
That's still there.
Yeah, that was Doug Stevens initially.
But you're saying these leases, weren't you saying these leases were
No,
always restaurants?
there's what happened is, I looked at this, I
So that's
grabbed
what
this
you're
as I
saying
was leaving in the morning, to be honest. I grabbed it and thought, all right, this is what we just used. And then I realized in looking at it that the Danny's Barbecue ceased operation. And it's now Hakeem Optical. It's 444 St. Mary's, it's Pony Trail. They didn't renew their lease downtown.
But that's still operating right now?
Right now.
No, it's closed.
It's closed?
Locked
Okay.
up. And 8 Forts, Finn McHugh's on the second floor.
That's closed long
Couldn't
time
make
ago,
it
yes.
closed because of the low floor. 2065 Hammond is Applebee's. It's okay. It had a fire and new life, so it's been rebuilt. Chamberlain's was in 360 Main. Everybody thought he would hang in till the big 40 tower is finished, 40-story tower, because he's the only person that had the right to sell alcohol in the Winnipeg Square. And he canceled it, he walked out. Famous Dave just had a change of operators.
Okay.
And Bellamy's is still there,
Okay.
their farm. But this is just to give you an idea that
Yeah, but
I've been
I
down
thought
a
I
long
heard you
time.
say at the beginning that these places were all closed, but they're
Oh,
having
no, I
trouble.
said five of
but
them,
they're not-
5 of them are closed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And for clarity, I think I still, do you know this restaurant, the subject property now, is it running year-round? Do they operate it year-round?
I think so because they're on percent rent, but they would probably go to reduced hours in the winter. I can't confirm that. I know that he's paying some form of percentage rent, and it wouldn't be very much. The only reason I say the seasonality of it, that was what he negotiated on the bridge. He doesn't pay rent in the winter, in the canal, and that's a city lease as well. So I assume he had something similar here, but I'm not sure.
Thank you, that's all my questions. Summation of any kind, Mr. Wong?
Oh, this is like the information that the applicant has presented and that I presented, it supports the rate that we used, and so we ask that you confirm the annual rental value.
Thank you. Mr. Story, anything to add?
Yeah, I think that the city can dig a little bit deeper if the landlord is the city of Winnipeg and get information on the leases. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you, everyone.